Mr. Black.
Your Worships, good morning, and congratulations on your recent elections. Thank you for the opportunity to share some comments and thoughts with you today. My name is Ian Black. I have the pleasure of serving as the President and CEO of the Vancouver Board of Trade. And today I'm here speaking on behalf of the Better Transit and Transportation Coalition, a group of extraordinary leaders from across the Lower Mainland who represent interests as diverse as labor, small and medium business, tourism, our communities, and the environment and sustainability. While it is not uncommon for our group to disagree with each other over some public policy issues from time to time, we have come together because we face a common enemy, and that enemy is congestion. Congestion is the #1 source of greenhouse gas emissions in our region. Congestion is choking our roads, bridges, and highways with traffic, which means that our small businesses cannot get their products and services to their customers across the Lower Mainland in a timely nor affordable manner. And congestion causes our citizens to stand in the rain for the next bus because the first ones were too full. And congestion gives a horrible first impression to our valuable tourists as they attempt to navigate their way to our region's attractions. As a result, quite simply, workers are taking longer to get to work and then home. It's this common enemy of congestion that has brought together the Coalition's founding members who are joining us in this room today, and I'd ask representatives to stand or wave as I acknowledge them. They include Unifor, Canada's newest and largest private sector union, Tourism Vancouver, the Downtown Surrey Business Improvement Association, the David Suzuki Foundation, the Greater Vancouver Gateway Council, and the BC Chamber of Commerce. And we are quickly growing larger, literally every day. As a group, we have observed the Mayor's Council come together in an unprecedented manner to craft a high-level transportation vision, and today, we hope, select a referendum question and taxation vehicle ultimately for the consideration of the people of this region. Presuming one can draw some approximations from the media coverage regarding the question and the taxation method, we are confident that later today our support will go from theoretical and conditional to specific and resounding. Now, do we, as individual stakeholders or collectively as our coalition, have some concerns at multiple levels about business taxation and certain details of your plan and its many points of uncertainty based, among other things, on the dependence of funding from senior levels of government? Yeah, we do. We have got some concerns. And are they legitimate? Yeah, we think they are. Do we need assurances today, as part of your deliberations and your decisions, that there'll be greater independent accountability and impartial scrutiny as to how and where the additional taxpayer dollars will be spent? Yeah, in fact, for us, that's one of the showstoppers. And are we determined to see a specific, integrated goods movement strategy developed over time and some other difficult but crucial conversations started in the months and years ahead around some pretty prickly topics? Yes, we are so determined, either individually as members of this coalition or as a group. But not having all the answers today, not being able to have a specific criticism addressed today, whether that criticism is leveled at TransLink or specific elements of your plan itself, is not, in the collective view of our coalition, sufficient reason to delay the immediate and sustained investment needed into our transportation network. Let us be very clear. In our view, doing nothing is not an option. If we do nothing, this congestion will only get worse. For all of the unanswered questions and legitimate concerns, this is nonetheless a unique and pivotal opportunity, and our group would say a responsibility, to take a meaningful step forward after years of political and jurisdictional paralysis. In the shadow of the prediction that 1 million more people will move into Metro Vancouver in the next 20 years, it is the conclusion and the unqualified opinion of our coalition that investing in better transit and transportation is one of the most critical decisions that the citizens of our region can make for the next generation. One of the first things we have done as a new, growing coalition is to rally around a common vision, notionally called the Pledge, and are quickly gathering literally dozens of additional well-known organizations who are similarly willing, contingent on the outcome of your votes today, to invest selflessly into this process and help ensure a successful referendum result. Let me conclude. Together, you have achieved an unprecedented level of agreement on this matter. First drafting a vision for the next decade, and today selecting two of the key components needed to bring that vision to a reality: specifically the wording for a referendum ballot and the taxation method that will help you fund your vision. On behalf of our coalition members, we again congratulate you for the progress you have made to get to this point and respectfully urge you to cross the finish line today and refer to the provincial government a ballot question and a taxation method so that our citizens of the region can decide the future of transportation in the Lower Mainland. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Black. Appreciate that.
And it is the view of the business community that yes, while we will incur costs to facilitate a new provincial sales tax of sorts, and while we will incur costs in running our businesses, that this is nonetheless overshadowed by the urgency of getting people moving, getting cars moving, and frankly getting the quality of life back to where it needs to be in British Columbia. Thank you. See this as an investment that is worth making.
But what about TransLink itself? Do you think it's well run?
I think the biggest mistake we could make is confusing this as a referendum on TransLink. This is a referendum on a transportation network plan that goes well beyond any one organization, its management, its governance structure, and its the impact it is having today or the effectiveness that people perceive it to be having today. This is much bigger than that, and we don't want to go down that path at all.
But you're handing $250 million a year to this organization that's pretty famous for wasting money.
One of the most important reasons why we're in support of this is the very clear demand that we have to support it is this issue of transparency and accountability by a neutral third party. We're very, very aware that when you have a complex organization like the Mayor's Council and a governance model that's quite complex around the vehicle that's TransLink today, there are a lot of opportunities to stop seeing clarity as to how money is being spent and what the priorities are. We believe that the triggers that have been put in place around this referendum are supportable from a business standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're already paying it, frankly. I think when you canvass our members, whose employees represent about a third of the working force of British Columbia, when you canvass the BC Chambers, I mean, 98% of our collective members are all small businesses, and yet we're involved in this coalition as founding members. That should say something to the public that when you've got business organizations who will pay this tax and who will have to change their computer systems there'll be a cost in getting ready for this tax, and yet when you see us coming out as founding members with the David Suzuki Foundation and the unions, public and private, that says something. That says that there's an urgency here that must be addressed, and there's a benefit on the other side of the cost that is worth the trip. And second to that is that, as I mentioned, we're already paying this. I mean, we're already paying it now in terms of productivity, the amount of time and effort it's taking to move our products and goods around, and frankly, things like people coming to work late and leaving early so they can get home to their kids.
But you're talking about it mostly in a macro level there, you know, productivity and such. What do you say to average consumers who are...
No, actually I meant that as quite a micro one, because if you talk to our members, the small businesses who are running little manufacturing firms and they're delivering out to Langley from Coquitlam, they've got to get there. And if it's taking them longer to get back and forth, or the courier charges they are paying have gone up because of congestion, either way that comes back as a very real financial cost to the small businessmen and women who run the economy.
What happens to BC if the mainland, if the referendum is voted down? What would be the consequence for British Columbia?
I'm troubled by that prospect because I don't think right now there's a viable plan B. I think that it has taken so much effort to get to where we are right now, and that for the first time in an awfully long time, and you've been covering the Mayor's Council a lot longer than I have, that to get this collection of individuals on the same page, agreeing to the basics of a laundry list that yes, it still needs work, yes, it needs prioritization, yes, there are unanswered questions about who's going to pay for the big chunky projects that'll clearly involve federal and provincial government assistance. Those are all legitimate questions, but to get them to actually to get them this far, to form a list of priorities and to agree on a taxation measure that will enable a contribution to come from that regional level, that's huge. And that is such a prerequisite to actually get the attention of the senior levels of government to sit down at the table and say, okay, now we got some money on the table for you guys, now let's talk about it. I lived through the Evergreen line. I mean, that was my life for a year and a half, trying to get the local region on side before the Treasury Board of BC committed their $400 million, which was before the federal government committed their $400 million. We waited 6 years until we finally came up with a gas tax as a solution from this group of individuals. That's how long that kind of stuff takes. That's why you can't underestimate the progress that's been made to get to this point and the opportunity that's in front of our citizens to actually fast-track some solutions that will benefit the individual families in the very, very near term. This is a big deal.
One other thing, I mean, you have a major organization Are there spending limits, restraints in terms of campaigning for yes? Or?
It's too soon to know. I mean, because this has been coming together very organically, which I think speaks to the authenticity of the need.
Do you have a campaign plan?
Not yet. It's coming together. And we're working on it. The various players are gathering around the table. We're trying to sort out how we do it. We know a few things for sure. We will do this formally. We will probably establish something like a nonprofit society or something to make sure that there's governance in place and that we are approaching this professionally, especially when you've got that wonderful coalition of very, very diverse interests at play, or in place rather. So I think we've got an obligation to just kind of do it right and not be kind of off the corner of the desk about it. And we've got to figure out what we're dealing with going into the new year. And that today gave us some obvious...
Do you have time? I mean, in the sense
we will make time.
You have to rush this, I guess.
And which in the...
the process. You'll have
the time in the process?
No, you'll have to set this up quickly, I'm assuming.
Yes, I will. But you know what? There's not a lot of new data here. It's not like we have to relearn what the issues are because our members are experiencing the pain of these issues every single day. I mean, for 128 years, this has been the #1 or #2 priority of the Vancouver Board of Trade. Transportation has always been one of our key, if you will, in our wheelhouse type topics. So this is not new ground for us. Definitely, if you go at it from the greenhouse gas emission side, this is not new for the David Suzuki Foundation. If you go at it from the public and private sector union standpoint, who are looking at the construction elements of these projects and the employment of bus drivers and transit workers on the other side of these investments, there's not new ground for them either. So we've all got our independent motivations with the common denominator and common challenge being congestion. That's what's binding us together. That's what will enable us to form a group very quickly in the new year and start charging towards the vote.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.